TV. Oh shit. Looks like John Wick. Bill and Ted, just Ted. Neo from the Matrix. Who's that? Keanu Reeves.
Hello and welcome to Good Boys Gone Bland, Season 5, Episode 3, Matrix Resurrections. The GBGBs are a modal podcast within a simulation. I may appear to be just a podcast host named Denali, but I am actually a rogue sentient freedom fighter known as Clickbait.
I'm Agent Ryan.
I'm the ship's jacker. I jack people in and jack people out.
I don't think they call him that. They call him the jack.
They just say pilot or something. I don't know.
No, I'm not the
You're
pilot.
the-
I don't drive the ship.
Yeah.
I'm the
You're the operator. The operator.
the jacker.
He's
Operator is close. I feel like there's a name. Because Seek
I think it's
is
operator.
it.
Yeah.
They say, this is Seek. He's our blank.
They call me
He's
Etchy Hentai Lord.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry, I couldn't think of anything.
I was thinking of like modern Matrix names because they have a couple new
Yeah.
ones within Resurrections. Like
I just went
You know,
for the agent first name.
it's a classic, and that's always going to be there. Agent Ryan.
I kind of want to be an agent, honestly. Like, I don't want to be like living
Yeah.
in this terrible underground world that's destroyed by machines. And I also don't want to be living in the Matrix as a human. I want to be like
Yeah.
bending rules guy.
They literally just get destroyed though. Whenever a higher level program is like, yeah, okay, he's dead.
So
It's
in
not an
my
easy
normal life, we all
Yeah.
die anyways.
Fair.
My favorite part of the first Matrix is when Smith, like, he asks everyone to leave and he kind of loosens his tie and he tells Morpheus how much he hates his job. He's
Yeah.
like, I hate this. It sucks. I just want to retire.
There's
Please.
no lateral opportunities either.
This fucking sucks. And then,
Monopoly, man.
yeah. And then Neo just kills him. And then when Neo kills him in the first Matrix, Amber actually like said out loud, he's like, he's just a guy who hates his job. Like, fuck, did he deserve that? Like, he didn't deserve to be exploded. I don't know.
Well, he tried to kill Neo, if the shoe was on the other foot,
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
Yeah.
spoilers for the original movie.
Original Matrix. Yeah. Oh,
Which
go
we
on,
already
listen to that
covered.
episode for God's sakes.
Yeah. Watch the movie, which
also
we
watch
say
The
in the
Matrix.
episode.
Watch Matrix.
So
Cool
do
movie.
either order.
Yeah. So do you guys have like your own? I think Jacker could be a cool Matrix name, honestly.
Yeah, if it's brought up in like
Yeah.
the first like instance and it's a good context.
Yeah. It's like, this is Jacker.
I can't
He
laugh
jacks him up.
afterwards. I'm the jacker.
You cannot.
No, someone else has to introduce you. You can't be
Yeah.
calling yourself that.
And I'll be
I'm
standing
Stitch.
there like
This
this.
guy, he's Jacker. There's that's good.
Offer.
There's no offer.
No, Jace, you ruined the whole thing. You just poisoned the whole well.
There's a separate guy named Offer because he turns things off.
Mhm.
And there's another guy named Jacker.
Honor.
No. There's no honor either. There's separate guys.
It's spelled Honor.
I wrote out like a couple, like just kind of like Matrix, name ideas. Like I feel like a thirst trap that could be a Matrix name. Insel, Troll, AstroTurf. That's like a legit Matrix name. I think.
AstroTurf is an awesome
Yeah.
word.
It's kind of cool. Gaslight. It sounds
Ooh,
badass and is a thing that happens on the internet. Shitpost. That'd be
these
a
are
cool one.
Okay.
Alt, like an alt account. Leak. Flatearthisreal.com.
Bathwater.
And, Bathwater.
I don't know if I want to
kind
live
of
in you guys' Matrix.
It's already there because they all
It's
have.
here.
Oh, you're right. You're describing the real world.
You think that's why the machines kind of took over the whole internet
Yeah.
and ran everything?
It's like it's like
Like Jesus.
who created Vision in Marvel? The robot Ultron, who looks at the internet for all of 0.0001 milliseconds is like
Well, start from zero. Accurate for Ultron. So this is our Matrix Resurrections episode. this is probably, I was texting you guys, this is probably our hottest take yet in terms of time, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
we're reviewing 20, 30-year-old movies usually.
Except for that time we did Space Jam,
our unaired Space Jam
the
episode.
lost episode.
Mm-hmm.
The last episode. Maybe we'll air it one day with enough, with enough requests. But this movie came out in our time because we record ahead of time about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Happy
It's
New
going
Year.
to be fresh takes. Happy New Year, guys. It's probably going to be a while for you listeners. Have you guys over the since our Matrix episode? Amber and I have marathoned all the Matrix films. Have you guys refreshed it all?
No.
Looked at the
And
fandom. Okay.
Denali, hopefully you're about to quiz us.
I watched the second one and then I fell asleep right before he got to the architect.
Yeah. You got to be awake for that part.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Because I didn't have a quiz prepared for this one.
Oh, damn it. 'Cause I was going to quiz you guys last time.
Oh.
And then I realized that you guys both know way more about the Matrix than me.
I did spend the last week, we watched the 2 Matrix sequels, Animatrix, and I spent a good amount of time, too much time on Matrix fandom to understand the lore. And this shit happens because this shit's hard, man. This shit's really hard. Because I did not catch any of this stuff when I first watched it, when it first came out.
Right.
And I lived my whole life not knowing what the fuck happened.
We
in the
were
Matrix
like
sequels.
kids.
Yeah, we were. But, I rewatched them. Like, watching Reloaded, I never knew what the architect thing was. Like, I always thought he was talking to some Colonel Sanders guy. He tells him to get fucked and leaves. And I never knew what that was.
Well, okay. There's going to be a large portion of our audience who has not seen, or at least not recently seen, those movies. So me and Jace, maybe for the most part, are going to act as those people in this episode.
You want the rundown?
And I've got some questions.
I can give you the basic, super easy to digest rundown. I think in
Between
less
1
than
and 4?
5 minutes.
Are you going to Morpheus us?
That seems like it would be very difficult. Do I have to do a voice?
No.
Yeah, you can
Neo.
do your own digital self voice, like whatever your
Ooh, that's
projection
good.
is. Yeah.
Oh,
Jason telling
howdy
me?
there, guys.
Why am I not surprised?
Hello, my name is the storyteller. I'm here to take you a picture of the Matrix.
Is that an Adam Sandler doing?
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Oh, he's like, hey, welcome. I'm in the Matrix, guys.
I was acting. You want it?
Yeah, just give us.
You want the
rundown.
quick?
Give us a
Yeah,
rundown.
yeah.
The quick,
please.
the Matrix. Okay, we get a little bit of it in the first Matrix, but humanity created artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence doesn't like what it's getting at. What is happening? Artificial intelligence creates robots. Robot wars occur. Okay.
Classic.
Robots at the time need solar power. Humans are like, we'll take out the sun. Bunch of bombs.
Checkmate.
Then the robots are like, well, shit. This is the prequel part is kind of
Prologue,
confusing.
yeah.
At some point, the robots find out that they can use human synapse, human power to get electricity combined with something else. So they make these big towers and they put the humans in them. They realize that they need to keep the humans alive, so they create what is the first Matrix. This Matrix was like the one we see with Neo, but it was a perfect paradise. The humans hated it, and I think they would like reject it, and they would go maybe crazy or die. That was the first version of the Matrix, and this architect was the person who created it. The architect was like, okay, well, perfect paradise doesn't work, so they're like, what about hell? So they make the second Matrix. Second Matrix is demons and shit, and it's like trying to keep the humans fighting for survival inside of it. They reject that completely too. So they scrap that. And these are all just different reboots of the Matrix. Third Matrix is a combination of heaven and hell to try to placate the human being. Still doesn't really work. The robots create the Oracle. The Oracle is a computer program that it was made to understand completely the human psyche.
Okay, can I pause real quick? We're still not in the first movie. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, folks.
Yeah,
We're
still not in the first movie.
thousands of years before the first movie.
Yes.
Okay, please continue.
The Oracle works together with the architect to determine what the best conditions are for humans to live in the Matrix to power the machines. But there's an issue.
All right.
See, because the Matrix is a bunch of computer programming, bugs and glitches arise when they are creating the situations for humans to power the system. And they have to do a hard reboot and just kind of wipe the Matrix and restart it new with the upgrades. To force that to happen, they grow a Neo every 100 years at the end of a Matrix cycle. They put all of the bugs and code and glitches into his body, and then they do this cycle of a whoopity wobbity whoopity shoobity where they release people to live in Zion. They make Neo face a choice of saving the people from Zion in a machine war or saving Trinity, and then he always makes the choice to save the majority of the people, which causes them to restart the Matrix, leaving a few humans to survive for the next 100 years, and then the recycle with Neo. This is way harder than I thought. Holy shit.
We're still not in the first Matrix.
So Keanu Reeves is Neo. Is the one in the first Matrix? And really, it's all just a ploy. It's been set up. They've redone this hundreds of times. The architect,
5 times. He said it was the 6th. He's the 6th of the one.
It just comes down to he's the one, and this time instead of choosing saving all the people, he saves Trinity in the third movie. And instead of having machine wars, they vie for peace at the very end.
Yeah,
bit like that.
Because what the architect says to Neo is like, your other iterations didn't have what you have, which is a relationship with another human being. He's like, they had kind of a general desire to save people, but you're in love, which makes you act irrational, which is why Neo is the outlier. So he did something irrational. He's like, fuck Zion, I'm going to save Trinity, even though I know humans are going to be fucked. And then it works out. And that was the first 2 Matrix movies.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I missed the whole point where the whole thing with the red and blue pill is that everyone, they needed to create the Matrix. The newest iteration had it where the humans had to have a choice. They had to be able to have a choice between good and bad.
So that answered none of my questions.
You didn't pose any questions.
It's interesting,
Ryan. It takes a lot of effort to summarize Matrix.
No, I'm saying it's interesting. It's interesting, and I didn't know. Probably 90% of that. And
Ryan learned something.
Yes, totally. But like, that's so above and like beyond my questions. Like, my questions were more along the lines of like, how did Neo get in the Matrix in this movie?
In this movie,
or the first?
In Resurrection.
In this movie.
In the new movie.
In number 4.
So we might need to do the movie synopsis.
Yeah, but
before
I don't understand. There's like
you want me to go straight into this too, and then just
they did like weird flash cuts to like him crashing ships and stuff, and he had a towel over his face, which I think it's probably way easier to drive a ship without a towel over your face.
Well, it's Bird Box Challenge, circa 2018.
Yeah, okay.
They're in a Matrix where it's in the past, so their memes are.
They just now got Bird Box.
Yeah, they just got Bird Box.
In the measly second act of this film, they kind of describe that in a really confusing scene with a lot of cuts.
Very long exposition scenes in this movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, let's not get into our reviews just quite yet. I think we're jumping the.
I just want to talk about this movie for like 2 hours.
Oh,
we can get there. Jace, you got the synopsis this week?
Okay, I'm gonna try and do better. I feel like the first Matrix one, I thought it out in my head, and then it just kind of shit rolls downhill, and then I didn't know what I wanted to say. This one is really okay. So proceeding the events of the third movie, after which Neo has sacrificed himself with Trinity to get peace. He was destroyed. I'm just gonna give a non-chronological series of events that they occurred in this movie. One of the programs, there's now peace. The humans are not being attacked in Zion anymore. One of the programs that is featured in this movie heavily, the analyst said, let's take Neo and Trinity their bodies, and let's rebuild them. So Neo and Trinity had died. The analyst takes Neo and Trinity because he realizes that they're special, and he rebuilds their bodies to get their source code, and then basically just replants them into the Matrix. I think those two are a powerhouse. They're a huge powerhouse that they use to build simulations for other people. When we get to this point and where the movie starts out, Keanu Reeves and Carrie Ann Moss don't know who they are. It's been 60 years, and a group of people that live in the real world are looking for Neo. He's been gone for some super long time. He's been mind wiped. His code makes it seem like he's happy to be in the Matrix, and the analyst is, again, really just using them for power. Neo writes a modal, a program to create a Morpheus. A new Morpheus is way super
We
dead.
probably don't need to get into like the.
Well, I'm just saying, creates
This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly the questions I have.
Yeah.
So he.
Oh, by the way, spoilers, guys.
Yeah, super
this is
spoilers.
Spoiler. Come back to this if you want to see it.
So, at the highest level, a group of people that are looking for Neo find a weird situation in the Matrix that is this modal, this small program that blue-pilled Neo has written that has a Morpheus in it.
Okay. Hold on. It's all falling into place. So.
Okay, we're never gonna get through this synopsis.
Wait.
That just made sense. Okay.
And he created that program subconsciously to get the Morpheus out to hopefully allow him to escape. So this team comes in, they find Neo's physical body who's been rebuilt. They pull him out of the Matrix. They save him. They take him back to the new city that's super cool. A subset of robots called, I think, like synthesoids.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Synthients. Who are robots are now living with humans in a weird kind of quasi-society where there are still bad robots that are mean and powered by humans. And then Neo's like, "Well, we gotta save Trinity."
Come on, guys.
That's his shtick. I'm finding out that's apparently like par for the course.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then really, I think the biggest thing is that I think Keanu Reeves, Neo, is not the one by himself. It's really what they're trying to show us in this movie is that Neo and Trinity together are like the two. And it's when those two are together, one superpowers the Matrix, but
Yeah.
Agent Smith is in there. It doesn't really matter at all besides throwbacks.
Okay, so actually that helped. And probably anybody who's listening to this is trying to, like, if they missed 5 seconds, they're off. But like, Neo's back in the Matrix, and the reason that is because
he had died.
Also somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes
They
out of the...
actually explain it though. They literally show the scene.
Yeah,
of how
Neil
he gets
Patrick
in
Harris shows.
Okay, just because words are said on the movie screen does not mean it's
It
easily
also showed the scene.
comprehensible. It doesn't mean that it's easily understandable. I'm going to Seinfeld.
Yeah. How did he get in the machine?
What are you talking about?
They scoop him up because because they crash the ship, and Neo, he's super dumb.
Well, okay, that's so specific.
Yeah.
Like
Well, if you saw Revolutions.
Well, I mean, she tried. They tried to show
Revolution.
enough of it in flashbacks throughout the film.
No,
just
I
randomly.
think they did enough to where I got the gist, right?
Yeah.
But like the expository dialogue that was given for a really long time in this movie was not the dialogue I needed or wanted.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible. They said a shitload and somehow said nothing.
Like the big speech that Jace just gave in the movie that we just watched was twice as long and was about like other stuff.
Yeah, and there was a lot of different directions they could have gone with this movie. It seemed like they went in all of them.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Only kind of, because they were like, "Oh shit, we got 100 different ideas," and then let's.
So
just go
I'm just gonna
deep.
put this out there.
Okay.
I'm getting a little bit of hostility from the both of you. I want to say I love this movie. I had a real good time. I love this movie. It's great.
Jace, I can't tell if he's serious.
I can't either.
I can't tell if he's serious.
I'm serious. I really like this movie.
You like this movie? I thought for
It's
sure this was
probably-
a
no.
Ryan home run. Doesn't like this movie.
I know, I liked it a
Me
lot.
too.
Okay, let's hear your. Let's see. I'm gonna test you, Ryan. So you like? What did you like about it?
I really liked the stuff on the TV screen.
Okay.
No, seriously. I liked that it went in a different direction. Like, it wasn't just another sequel. It really seemed as if it was like the aesthetic that they kept in the first movie, they tried to replicate like on purpose. They just like replicated it for the second and third movies. And this one, it seemed like they started from a new slate, and they were willing to kind of approach the Matrix from like a meta, like what does the viewer want kind of perspective. And we get the couple scenes in the beginning that I thought were hilarious, where like the game developers are ragging on about like, what does the Matrix mean? And they're all basically wrong, right? And like the Matrix isn't just about like action scenes, and it's not just about philosophy. It's about, let's be real, it's about both. So I really liked that they had that in mind, and they explored new characters that weren't just like, oh, I'm the architect. They had one dude who was like the analyst, right? But they brought in like bugs and all these, like this new crew that was almost like a stand-in for like the Morpheus crew, but it was like a modern version of it, where, you know, they have a young female. It's a mixed race. And I really liked that. It felt really fresh. It was like a kind of a breath of fresh air.
I will say this: I liked the first third of the movie a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, am I gonna go against the grain here and be like, I fucking love this movie? Am I gonna defend it? For me, I think the second and third, portions of the movie, I think kind of fell apart a little bit for me. But I liked the cast was great. You got
They gave their all.
Abdul Mateen, Jessica Henwick, even Priyanka Chopra and Jonathan Groff. Those are all actors that I like, and I like seeing them and stuff. I was just a little frustrated by how underdeveloped everybody was in the movie.
Yeah. Wide net, which is insane because it felt like watching this movie was like 5 hours. For me, quite honestly, I was like, this has to be done. This has to be done soon. Where are we at? And it was still 45 minutes left.
Yeah. How was it so bloated, yet how did it somehow do very little?
Right. I think the exposition scenes were what did it for me. Those I found myself nodding off. I watched this actually kind of rather late for me, and like I was not into it. I didn't care about what they were saying. I don't care about Zion and these human cities. I really don't. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what life is like. But there were some really
sounds like blue pill shit to me.
Well, sorta. This is exactly what we talked about in the last episode.
Yeah.
I have a 9-to-5 office job.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it. So I don't know. I liked that. It didn't seem like Matrix 4. It seemed more like Matrix 2.
Yeah,
I think that was their point too.
Yeah. Right.
They didn't really want you to have watched. You weren't required to have watched the second and third movies to really fully understand and jump into the film. Like, I think a lot of people didn't watch 2 and 3, or they're so far gone. Watching the second movie like a week ago, I was like, "This happened?"
Yeah.
Well, what's your guys' opinion watching the second movie and third movie now, like almost 20 years removed?
Like I said, the second one, kind of fell asleep right at the architect bit. Action scenes were good. I feel like somebody came in. How much? This is a question I have for you guys. We talked about the producer and the director. How much say in a movie does a producer have?
Pretty good amount.
Quite a bit.
Because they're given
overall
like a shit ton of money, right?
Yeah, they have budgetary, like they decide who's hired, right? And they decide kind of like the overall direction.
Really, the issue for me with the second Matrix is that you're trying to recatch that lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And you could tell that there was hesitancy from a lot of different people to even produce and make the first Matrix. And then it was such a hit that in the second one, they're like, we'll give you all the money and then you can try and do all the coolest things in it. So like 80% of the fight scenes in that movie are the shittiest CGI clay doll version of Keanu Reeves flying around and beating people with a bow staff, which is kind of cool maybe back then. But
well, actually, that's the Matrix glitching because of all of the sprites moving too much and it overloads the graphics processors. That is the fan canon.
So they had shitty technology at the time, so it looks like ass and it doesn't hold up like the first one does. So
right. I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
And they were like, "Oh, we got to go really, really, really hard with the leather in this one."
Because what we wanted from the first movie was CGI and leather. That's what made it cool, because no movie had CGI and leather before this. That's why Matrix was a revolution.
Honestly, I love the CGI and leather. And if I may say, Matrix Reloaded, I was expecting to shit on it. I actually loved Matrix Reloaded. I thought definitely pacing issues, but I liked the siege aspect of it, where they're like, "Oh fuck, the machines are coming! There's 200,000 of them. They're drilling into Zion. Holy fuck!" And then Smith is a virus, all that stuff. And plus, I think the sickest choreography, that scene where he's up on the balcony of the French restaurant pulling medieval weapons off the walls. I think that's a classic, dude.
I think the fighting in the movie was phenomenal. I'm all on board with the most of it. I think they just decided to put too much money in the clay doll scenes. Or whatever it was, because the choreographed fighting in the first one was great, and they didn't need to go over the top to show him spinning around with the bow staff fighting them to make the scene feel like there's tension.
The best parts of the first movie weren't necessarily Neo beating up on Agent Smith, right? Like, the best parts were the payoffs and like the throat punch. No, the best scenes in the first movie for me were when Neo realized he was the one, and all the cool ways they made that scene feel special, and when no stunts were happening. When Neo is standing in the hallway and he slowly like looks up like down the hall, and the other agent's like, "Oh shit!" Like, that's my favorite part of the movie, right? But that has like almost no CGI and it's no stunts.
Yeah.
So let's be clear, I'm the one person here who hasn't seen any of the second or third movies.
Wait, you haven't? Have you not? Okay, yeah.
Well, I don't think I've watched them like since I was able to like form concrete memories about movies.
Okay, this is fair. Because my biggest criticism of the third movie was that it was a little too much of that. It was a little too much of, he's beginning to believe. I believe in Neo, and 90% of the movie took place in Zion as well. And I think it makes the same mistake of this movie we just watched, is where they forget what makes the Matrix special. I think, first of all, the fight choreography was sorely missed in this Matrix.
Not at all. When you say this, not
Resurrections.
Yeah. Okay.
The fourth.
It was, compared to the first Matrix, it was terrible. Like, it was like I was watching a CW show. I think people have made that distinction before.
Well, I know.
This is me with the camera shooting back and forth in tight location.
It was
right, but
really
like,
boring. Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't have that same opinion. I didn't feel like, I always think fighting scenes are boring anyways, right? Like, so it's not like this one stood out like a sore thumb for me. It's not like the ones in the original Matrix were that great either. There's a few ones.
I disagree, my man.
The best scene in the original Matrix is the dojo fight with Morpheus and Neo. And the reason that's interesting is because of what they're saying.
I also liked the fight choreography in that one. I like the zoomed back type of fight stuff.
Totally. But like, it's not like whether or not a movie uses a different type of fight choreography, and editing and shooting, is not going to dock it that much for me, because you can never really get that many points in the first place from having such scenes.
It's an action movie. I think it's integral to.
That's going to come down to.
Like John Wick without gunny shooty scenes would be like, why am I watching?
That'd be a pretty boring movie.
Well, right.
Yeah. I get that, but in Resurrections, to that point, like, let's say the fight scenes aren't that good compared to the Matrix, and they also didn't have any meaning to them.
No
They have
stakes in this whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest fight in the movie is the prolonged scene with the exiles, the programs who have been kicked out of the old Matrix.
Yeah. See, once again, this went over my head. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, the fight didn't really need to happen at any level. The fight with Smith in that same scene wasn't really explained at all. Smith was just kind of like, fuck you, Neo, and then they just start fighting. And then later in the movie, spoilers, Smith does the killing blow on the analyst, and he's like, all right, we teamed up. Now it's over. See you, Neo. And I'm like, what the fuck happened in between that? Like, and that goes back to what I think we were kind of touching on, is that this movie explains so much, but it doesn't explain the shit we want to know.
I think there was very little tension that made me feel like it mattered.
Yeah.
This comes back to liking the first third of the movie. I really liked when Neo was having his like panic attacks and he's like remembering, and it's very clear that they're forcing him to think that everything was just a memory and it's just a game. And then the rest of it, not a single crew member dies. The bad guy in the first movie was a human that wanted to go back into the Matrix because the world sucked, and that could have real physical implications while people are inside the Matrix.
The first Matrix is so good.
So good. But not a single person dies in this movie in the real world. And why?
Yeah.
So what are really the stakes when we got into the point where there are these new robots, there's a potential war on the horizon, but not a single person gets more than like punched 8 times.
Nosebleed.
And, yeah, nosebleed. And so it kind of felt, I guess the stakes may have been in a different place or a bit over my head, but it felt like it was lacking there. And that was my biggest gripe. Yeah,
I totally agree about the stakes in this movie. I mean, a lot of Neo's fight scenes in this movie too, and I'm not gonna shit on him too much. He's 57, like he can't do the same shit he did in the first Matrix. But so much was force push, force push, just spamming the same thing. And if he's gonna stop all the bullets, I did not feel the tension in any of the fight scenes at all. And it was just everything was really awkward. I feel like the editing was off.
Oh, the editing was bad. Yeah, I did not like the editing.
I'm the opposite. I think this movie was beautiful, and that was actually one of the things I was like, oh, okay.
I actually thought it was shot well.
Oh,
I think it.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was shot well, but there was some mismatches on the editing, and there was some unintended, I think, pieces where time skipped.
Yeah, there was definitely parts where I was like, wait, what the fuck just happened between those two? That little skip right there.
Yeah.
And I think there is. Maybe this is going to go back to I knew this was going to happen with our Batman versus Superman review, where I think maybe a good edit could make this movie a lot better. There's probably scenes in there that probably explain some of the questions that we have. And maybe you rearrange this stuff, shift the focus a little bit, and I think we can have maybe a more compelling movie. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe.
I think, okay, well, let's talk about it. This is a weird podcast episode for us, right? Because we're doing like no bits.
Yeah.
We're just talking about this movie.
Yeah.
And I guess the assumption is like you have to watch this movie to even have one clue about what we're talking about. Because like most movies are a story contained in an hour and a half. This is a slice of a 10-hour story.
Uh-huh.
So I think that, sorry audience, if you don't think this episode is like funny or anything compared to normal, but I'm enjoying this conversation just from like it's helping me get a grip on this movie. I think that there are some things that I would need explaining also. I don't know if you guys picked up on this from like a thematic standpoint, not just from like a plot or technical standpoint, but as much as I thought I understood the plot of this movie, which was maybe about 66 to 75%, I think I understood even less from like a thematic, metaphorical standpoint. Like I don't really understand the message of this movie, and a lot of people online have been talking about like, oh, this movie's great because it has a great message and stuff. And I can pick a few points out that maybe I want to go over with you guys, but like I wonder if you guys were able to maybe decipher this code a little bit better than I was.
Can I go?
Yeah.
I think that maybe if you say some things or you lay some groundwork for me to have a bit more of a complex thought, I thought the major themes in this were all like boomeristic, spend too much time on the phone,
Yeah.
disconnected from reality themes. And I was actually I didn't get much out of it because I just kept thinking about one of the programs, which was actually probably one of my funniest scenes in that exile fight, is in the second movie. He's a French guy,
Merovingian.
the Merovingian, and he is like that. He's like, books aren't good anymore. The movies used to be better.
I see, Jace. I have the opposite opinion. I thought this was making fun of people who think that it's like the wrong way to live, looking at your phone all the time. Like, because there were a couple characters who were lambasted for having that opinion.
I didn't make it totally entirely clear. So I thought that scene was funny that he had that opinion, and I think that they were doing what you said. I disliked it.
Right.
I disliked that it felt like it was being pushed. Like even as the joke, I was like, ah.
They also had that scene with all of those quote unquote like millennial stereotypes circa 2015, where it's like dudes with man buns, talking about like pseudo intellectual shit and using buzzwords in the wrong way. It just seemed like a boomer depiction of millennials where they'll be like, on point. And I was just like, God, this is so fucking dated and out of touch. And then, of course, you have the scene with Keanu in the elevator looking forward and everyone's like looking at their phones. And I'm like, give me a fucking break. Like, make this movie 10 years ago.
Well, sort of. I mean, there might be a different perspective where they're in the Matrix, right? And the 9-to-5 workplace that the first Matrix was parodying, we didn't see these people looking at their phones because they didn't have them. They were looking at their screens. When there was the cubicle shot in his office, the unspoken assumption is that everybody's sitting down at their desk staring at their computer, and Neo is the only one standing up and looking around. It's the same kind of message. Like, these people are in the Matrix and they don't realize it, and they're essentially consciously making this decision to not get themselves out and not be free thinkers. And I think it's not so much more of I think that's a very that's too literal, thinking like, this is bad, looking at your phone. I think maybe it's the same sort of take where it's about critical thinking, and it's maybe analogy for Neo being someone who can critically think and think, is this the life I want to live?
It took the agency away from me and having the thought you're having about, I can see where you're coming from, but when we were told that the analysts had really just filled this entire world with programs and robots, and that everyone that was around Neo was not in fact a copper top, wasn't a human in a pod, it took that agency away from me. It was like, because everything that Neo was in was pre-planned to keep him trapped in the Matrix.
Yeah, maybe just being around, I guess maybe the explanation could be like just being around people who are ingrained in the Matrix might make him want to be kind of in the Matrix.
Ingrained. Yeah, I think it had, and maybe this is what we're touching on too, is this movie's filled with really good ideas and really interesting conversations. And sometimes it's executed well, and this is partially subjective. But I think a lot of the times, at least for me, the idea was good, but maybe the execution was kind of hokey a little bit.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. That's 100% my opinion. Then on the other hand, 10 times out of 10, I would rather watch a movie with really great ideas, but not quite be able to pull them off, than watch a movie with absolutely no ideas and be completely, food to the pigs.
Ain't that the story of the Wachowskis, though? Where it's just,
we talked about this last time. They swing for the fences, right?
And they don't always hit the ball perfectly, but it's definitely a swing. And you could respect the power drive. In this, one thing that I think sticks out in this movie a little bit, and this is something they talk about whenever a Matrix movie comes out, is the Matrix fashion and the aesthetic. What'd you guys think of kind of like the modern-y new Matrix?
I loved it. I liked Bugs' look a lot.
Yeah, killed it.
Bugs was cool. I think Bugs was my favorite character in the story, actually. I think
Morpheus had drip too, man.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed the using the operator in the scenes, going back from the ship to the Matrix, where you could see him standing in his He's got the like tech
Yes.
monocle on, and he'd be like talking like, "You need to get to the window." And
He was in the Matrix essentially.
yeah,
I
it
think
looked sweet.
the aesthetic was pretty cool. Little cyberpunk. I liked Bugs' look with the blue glasses, and then Keanu's new look. I think worked too. I think it was maybe just a touch too modern for me. I think I wanted a little bit more of that shiny, sleek 90s.
I think that's the
raver
problem. It was
clothes.
it was like too real life. Like there was
Yeah.
something about the Matrix that seemed the original Matrix that seemed off. In
Yeah.
this movie, there wasn't too much that seemed off. Everything
Yeah.
seemed fine.
Because I see people dressed like that in this movie, just every day, just walking
Yeah.
around. Like you just have people who dress like that, like all blacked out clothes with colored hair and kind of cool haircuts and sunglasses.
I want to
Well,
look like that so bad.
It's a cool look, and you know what? Don't let that don't hold yourself back.
I know, but like I'm in this more like I'm in a very conservative field.
Yeah, that's East Coast problems.
I'm in like literally what they're making fun of in the original Matrix.
I have I don't know if it agrees or even is on point with what you just said. I think one of the key features of this movie, talked about multiple times, is that the Matrix in its appearance is close to achieving perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple times we get that broad shot overlooking the city and the scenic nature behind it. It looks beautiful, looks perfect. And even with that, they go through the scene in the horticulture plant room. In the plant room,
Yeah.
where the synthetic creature is helping, the synthetic humanoid is helping recreate blueberries, and they have the strawberries that they've pulled the data from code and recreated. And maybe that futuristic kind of normal look for Neo is that the Matrix is in this place where it's less bleak than the first one. I don't know.
Yeah,
Doesn't make any sense.
Like
Well,
the new Matrix is kind of more is less like the old Matrix in aesthetic. It's kind of
this version of the Matrix, it's a different version, right? Like it's a different point
New
out or
version.
whatever. This version of the Matrix seems more well-rounded, where the other one was just fields of corn. This is like mixed use crops. And I think something that could be explored more in these movies is a Matrix that's maybe not set in the year that the movie comes out. Like I think what would be really cool for Matrix 5 is like, boom, 1888. There's a Matrix, everybody's riding around on horses.
Samurai
and
Matrix.
trains. Yeah,
Oh,
like that
man.
would be cool, man.
Wait,
Or like
that would make
in
sense
the far
too,
future.
because if you
The
talk
Westworld
about people
Matrix.
who are
Yes,
Talk
no,
about-
dude, that's a perfect way to do Westworld.
Sorry, did I?
no, it's talk about people who are going to be completely blue pilled. Is people who don't even know technology as a concept.
Yeah, what electricity is.
How could you fucking red pill? So I hate that term because it's been co-opted, but how could you pull someone out of the Matrix and it'd be like, okay, there's machines. They're like, what the fuck's a machine? What's the internet? What's wires? What is any of this? What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm gonna go back to farming.
I pull plows, dude. Like what? And so like it's so far removed that I think that machines would never risk someone unplugging.
Except everybody, I think, always was unhappy.
There's not enough choice.
That's the problem with the other version of the Matrix, as you guys told me, is like that people aren't very happy. There needs to be something in the Matrix that the experienced users can be like, yes, I want to stay here.
That's kind of why I mean, that's entirely why it is now. Is because we're faced as humans every single day with millions of times more choice. I feel like on a day-to-day basis on even the most minor things than anybody. And Neil Patrick Harris scene where he literally bullet times Neo and looks at
That
him.
was awesome.
Really cool scene, and is
That was my
describing
favorite
everything.
scene, yeah.
And the bullets traveling at Trinity's head. And he's like, you know why you have nightmares? It's because when we give you nightmares and you're thinking, oh, can I get there in time? Can I stop the bullet? It produces a bunch of electricity for us. And I don't think they'd be pulling that much electricity out of people who are old yellering in the like, oh no,
I got some corn. Okay,
The Matrix is
counterpoint.
just farms.
I think there's plenty of misery to go around in 1800s simulations. Oh, dysentery again. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, but you don't get to
think
choose
that's
the
pretty-
dysentery because you wanted
choose
Dick's
dysentery.
Burgers or Taco Bell. You just got
That's true.
dysentery.
Yeah, I'm surely the machines have worked out the calculations to get maximum misery out of 1999 America.
You guys ever watched The Good Place?
Yeah.
This movie was stepping a little bit into like the Good Place territory, right?
How's
Where
that?
so the people haven't heard, people who live are somehow like listening to this podcast but live under a rock. The Good Place is a TV show where they simulate heaven and hell. It's kind of like the joke in The Good Place where we had to run like 1,000 different trials before we got to this one, and I had to get special approval to do this stuff, like because other things are more effective.
Yeah, so like this was the version that they finally got right, and it's still teetering on a very fragile concept of Neo and Trinity need to be close together, but never actually together to maximize the power output of the Matrix.
Right.
And one thing we didn't kind of mention too is when Neo gets unplugged from the Matrix again, he wakes up, he's like, oh shit, they plugged me back in. And they pull him out. Neil Patrick Harris is like, oh fuck, you just unbalanced the Matrix. It's got to reboot. We need you back. Otherwise, Trinity by herself, it's gonna be completely unbalanced. Anyway, he threatens to kill Trinity unless Keanu replugs himself back in. That's kind of takes us into the third act, where he's like, I'm gonna make Trinity remember, man, and she's gonna leave voluntarily, and the Matrix is gonna be fucked, I guess.
I don't know why that just doesn't also spark a machine war. Right there, that action alone, like.
Yeah, and I think this is one of my big complaints about the movie is that they spend Matrix 2 and 3, which together is about 5 hours long, about centering around Zion, the Zion War. They make us care so much about the fate of Zion and the whole machine war, and they just say one sentence about Zion in this. They say like, oh yeah, the machines like fought each other in a civil war, and Zion actually fucking died. Everybody died. Morpheus died. Anyways, other stuff. Trinity. Well, Trinity, we gotta get Trinity back. And I was like, what about Zion? Like, why'd you waste my time with all the Zion shit just to say one sentence about how none of it fucking mattered?
Sort of. I mean, that's kind of exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I'm glad they did that. I hate to break your heart, but I'm not. I'm glad they did that because like. I don't want to hear about that. Unfortunately, their subsequent decision was to tell us about the new place. But like, I want to know more about the Matrix and Neo and like what the Matrix is like and how that affects Neo's psyche rather than, okay, there's a couple humans and we have to come up with a 20-minute long plot description for why the humans exist and haven't been found by the machines yet. It's kind of annoying. There's so many cool things to do in the Matrix universe. I don't really want you to be talking about normal humans that much.
I think that's kind of I think the thing is there really isn't much to do in the Matrix because beyond Neo and Trinity, and I mean them getting out, it's really still just controlled by the higher level programs.
Yeah.
It's like
I liked, but then again, I liked the weird scenes where, so in this movie, Neo would, I guess the implication was he would die, and then the Matrix would essentially revive him and convince himself that what he just experienced and his memories were just a psychotic episode. None of that ever happened. He'd end up back in his therapist, the analyst's office. I would have liked a few more of those scenes, right? Because that was really fun. It was really fun seeing him make incremental progress. I think I would have liked maybe one or two more incremental progress scenes because a couple of them are fun. And like, it's sort of like a death loop movie where if Neo knows he's going to die and going to wake up in the analyst's office and he's told that at the beginning of each cycle, then he can do some really wacky stuff, right? Like Groundhog Day stuff, like where he can push the boundaries and set traps. And that would have been really fun to watch.
I think literally anything else would have been more fun to watch for me in this movie. I caught myself, Ryan, like thinking about more fun ideas that they could have done in this movie. And I think I found myself yelling at the TV screen and being like, Jesus Christ, like, don't fucking focus on that. Like, go back to that thing you were just talking about. Like, that was more interesting. And like, yeah, I love the therapist scenes. I liked Neil Patrick Harris. He was hamming it up in a super fun way. But like, yeah, I was so bored with so much of it. I didn't really care about the whole unfortunately, the whole Neo and Trinity dynamic, which I
Yeah.
thought I would care more about. I liked their dynamic a lot in the trilogy, but I just feel like they made it really boring in this one for some reason. Man, I can't put my finger on why it was so awkward, or maybe it was the lines or the editing. What's your guys' take on their relationship in this movie?
Yeah, leave it.
See, I think there should have been more of it.
You see, you like the Neo Trinity scenes.
Well, no.
Oh, but you wanted more.
Yeah, like
More
just
would have
because-
made it okay, I think.
Right,
is what
like
you're-
just because I don't necessarily like this version of it doesn't mean that more of that one thing wouldn't have made the whole project better.
Mhm.
I think if you put Trinity a little bit earlier into the movie and string it along a little bit more, where I didn't like the husband and family like thing, because then it felt like, I don't know, there was this other moral thing that
Yeah.
Neo was going against to like getting her out of the Matrix. Like, should you cheat on your husband that you're in love with?
Yeah,
Even though he's a computer, right? Like, it doesn't matter. That's the whole point of the whole entire series.
they
And
literally named him Chad, and he plays
I know.
sports. He's Chad Sports Ball, and Neo the geek supposed to steal his wife. I couldn't get over that either.
I think that having more in Matrix scenes, have maybe Neo get out of the Matrix way later in the movie, and then doing one final Trinity saving expedition rather than like, I think they went on a couple.
Yeah.
I think that would have been probably a lot better thematically.
I think so, and I think that's a big crux of this movie, is that they wanted to do all these ideas and didn't focus enough on any of them. So maybe, yeah, if they committed to the Neo Trinity thing hard and just kind of pushed back some of the other themes they were trying to do, I think it'd been more entertaining.
One of my biggest gripes is Niobe. I don't know if
Yeah.
if Niobe
God.
bothered you guys at all, but like I don't even remember what it was. I was just so I like I went, oh, like the complete tonal shift from the we can't do this, I've got to protect this city to da 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 to being in oh yeah, they were in the Matrix talking to one of the programs, and she was like, why didn't you tell me this about my friends? And it was like, 5 minutes ago you didn't give a shit about Neo.
Yeah, Niobe's character, I think, was really frustrating, and it didn't make sense to what she was in the earlier films either. Because Niobe in the original, or the 2 and 3, she was like, well, fuck the council, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make this happen. And she, like Neo said, she trusted him with the ship. She was partially a believer at some level. She was like an optimist, and if you're gonna portray someone as like the withered person who's been hardened over time, don't do it like that, and don't make her kind of just like this flip-floppy, frustrating thing just to have like a conflict in the story. I just, I was frustrated by Niobe, and I was like, they could have done that better. Fuck, like Niobe was a cool character.
Kind of get it. I agree with Ryan a bit. Zion, bygone past, like
Zion,
E-
Bion.
Now back to Io.
Io
Hero.
is
Heyo.
sides are getting older and much more
Yeah.
conservative. It's like it's the city that they do have, and I understand wanting to protect it. It got really confusing when she was just like, oh, okay, now we'll save her.
Yeah.
The stakes are
think
still the
that-
same for your city getting destroyed, even if you have like a smittance more of a plan.
I think there maybe is like an edit problem there, because maybe
Yeah.
there's a scene in between
Yes.
where she's like, oh, maybe I'm fucking wrong. I was fucking wrong. Would you guys, speaking of people who are coming back from the old movies, what was your guys' take on, new Morpheus and new Mr. Smith, or Agent Smith, excuse me, with what's his name, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, his second role as a CGI naked man, and was Jonathan Groff.
I really liked him.
Thumbs up.
That
Yeah.
honestly was my favorite part of the movie. Like, I thought there should be more Morpheus in his human-looking form.
Yeah.
I liked Agent Smith. Let's go back to just like an hour and a half long movie with Morpheus, Neo, and Agent Smith like talking about shit.
Please, fuck.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that Agent Smith thing with like, I'm in a new body, like that was kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what's his deal? His dynamic, and even one of the characters are like, oh shit, there's so much theories between Neo and Agent Smith. It's like, I wish they went into that more, because Jonathan Groff is a lot of fun to watch on screen. Every word he said, I was like glued to the screen. I was like, oh man, this is great. And then he just kind of fades off. And same with Yaya's performance with Morpheus. I was like, this is cool. Put more of this in here. And then they just kind of zoom out into whatever thing they want to explore for that next 20-minute sequence and abandon again.
The cheesy throwbacks were kind of where it was at for me. So
Yeah.
I think that's what we were liking about them, is that there was a good amount of recreating the initial scene where new Morpheus says his original line. It was just like,
Mhm.
ooh, okay.
That's probably the best way to do those cheesy throwbacks. It's in the grand scheme of cheesy throwbacks. We've seen a lot of them over the years. We've seen them with, James Bond and Star Wars and like Star Trek and etc. I think this was the only way you could have done it with Matrix, where you kind of take the piss just a little bit. Whether or not they went a little too far with taking the piss, I think is yet to be said.
I don't think so.
I think for me, just a tiny bit. I think they took the piss a little too hard. I was starting to cringe a little bit halfway through, but I you got to do what you got to do to make the movie work. I was afraid that they were going to be kind of doing the elbow nudge thing, which Star Wars does.
They got the Star
Right,
Wars
too
treatment
much,
is
yeah.
what I was gonna just say. Now it feels like.
Like, because where they kind of nudge you, be like, huh? Remember C-3PO? Huh? He's gonna say the line. You think they kind of did that a little too much?
Yeah.
I did too, and they sometimes saying it sarcastically in the movie, but doing it over and over again, I think it starts to become a little ham-fisted for me. They did some things a little differently, but I think it ran into sequelitis.
Bit of Marvel funnies thrown into like a scene that I'm just thinking about the fist bump with the robot. Like inside the Matrix is like a really tense situation where they're in this fight that should be life threatening, and then they get out of it and the operator fist bumps the tiny little robot.
I think that's actually, Jace, that's a really good point. That was my least favorite shot in the whole movie. It came off as like Baby Groot.
Oh, I said that to Yuri after the movie finished. I was like, oh yeah, they had to have a little Groot, didn't they? A little robot Groot.
It's funny because this whole movie is like a reaction against Marvel sequels. And then they have that shit.
Yeah, I didn't like the humor either. There was a lot of meme talk too, which Marvel likes to do, where they're like, oh, this is bad. All the bad guys. And I'm just like, fuck, please don't do that in the Matrix. Like, the Matrix is supposed to have this tone.
Timeless.
Yeah. And this was very timely. And I think even though it came out 3 weeks ago, it felt, I said this before, it felt like they were making old types of jokes.
Well, right. It's a pandemic movie, though. We need to take that into consideration. I think I'm giving it like a pass on a lot of stuff just because it's a movie fully made during the pandemic. And, since the pandemic has started, so since March 2020, I've watched probably 3 or 4 movies that I would consider like my favorite movies of all time that were released in the last couple of years, but they were all made pre-2020. And so I think that this one being, having delays and having actual things impacted by the pandemic, like, I think it's fair enough to be like, yeah, it seems really timely, but like, also it's not mentioning the pandemic. Like, I think there was like, maybe, was there a scene with a mask in it or something? But
that was in Tokyo. They wear masks anyways in Asia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But even in 2019, I think those jokes are extremely dated. Again, to go back to the techie millennial scenes and even the after credit scene, I was just like, oh, fuck, like, do this in 2015. Please don't do this now. Even some of the meme speak, even some of like the high-fiving, Neo about to fly, and he's like, not gonna happen.
I thought that was funny. I like that scene.
Yeah, that was funny. Because that was an in-series joke.
Yeah. I think for me, it threw off the tone a little bit, and it maybe would have been subversive, maybe in the 2010s or maybe in the 2000s.
Yeah.
But I think I had a little too much of the smarmy humor.
Yeah, I wanted him to be like, they said, "Can you still fly?" I wanted him to be like, "You don't understand. When you're with me, we can all fly." Like, I would have been like, whoa, yeah!
That would have been so much better if he said some cheesy Matrix line. Honestly, I would have loved that.
I think the lesson is watch this movie and then talk to your friends about it, and you could talk forever because we've never talked about a movie like this.
Yeah. Agreed.
We've done no bits, guys.
We've literally just been talking like this.
Are you still there,
this
audience?
Conversation wasn't recorded. Yeah.
Audience is like, wow, these guys have just been shitting on the Matrix for.
Well, not entirely. Like, there's some things that I really liked about this movie. I'm probably going to save that for the end. But
This is more like the Count of Monte Cristo, where like me and Jace are dudes with fencing blades, and Ryan's sparring the two of us as we're shitting on this movie, and Ryan's trying to defend it.
I don't know about defend, but
Yeah.
I think it's a movie where you can have different opinions, and that's okay.
It's a Wachowski movie, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't like Speed Racer, you're not gonna like this movie.
And I think in
They
some
did
way,
Speed Racer.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
In some way, I think Wachowski movies are kind of like CW shows, where it's that theory of, I think everyone has a Wachowski movie or franchise that they will like defend with all of their heart, and then be like, oh, those other ones suck though. You know, for me, for a while, it was Flash in the CW universe. I
Love the
knew
Flash.
it was.
I did
knew it
not
was
like
bad.
Flash at all.
I knew it was bad. Okay, but it's a great
really
fucking
didn't
show.
like it.
And I think the same applies to Wachowski movies for a lot of people. Like, there's people who will start foaming at the mouth if you start shitting on Cloud Atlas. Okay.
Yeah, you know how many?
I like that
you know
movie,
how
too.
Often
Damn.
Speed Racer is referenced by rappers.
Is that a thing? Speed Racer?
Yes,
reference?
all the time, especially Young Thug, dude.
Man.
I did not know the Wachowskis did Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
I have the album.
No, it's not Cloud Atlas. Isn't it Jupiter Ascending?
They did Jupiter Ascending. I thought they did Cloud Atlas.
They
though.
also
And Cloud
directed.
Atlas
They
is-
directed Cloud Atlas.
Oh.
Okay, I'm just I gotta see here. They did Ninja Assassin. They did V for Vendetta. Oh god, these movies kind of rule though.
They slap, dude.
Who speaks the
These
true
gotta
true?
fucking slap. You guys just want to do a Wachowski season? Fuck. This-
Yeah.
You could.
Okay.
You could pitch it
Can
as
we
a.
get into our structured
Yeah.
reviews, please? Because we've
We
had
better.
no structure.
We've been like three jazz players, just going along. I feel like people
We-
don't follow.
Is this what the brain of a bipolar schizophrenic feels like when they're like making their conspiracy ramblings?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm curious to listen back because we've been kind of excitedly jumping from topic to topic. I'm like, can anyone fucking follow this if they didn't see the movie?
I think it's going to be hard to edit this episode because if you take one thing out, it's going to really feel like a non sequitur.
Nor we've never had structure to an actual movie review where we talk about specific things. It's always what's off the cusp.
It's freestyle.
Should we do a bit at the end and just force it into the
Mhm.
beginning?
I had a
Forcing
bit,
some comedy in our comedy podcast.
but I'm
Warning.
trying to find it.
You are entering the GBGB's Matrix. We are about to talk shit about this movie.
Some of us, maybe
Oh,
Ryan a little bit,
Little bit of shit, little bit of
a little bit of shit.
Yeah, I don't know that it needs to be saved for my review. I thought in the third act, I was like, if I was watching a different action movie that was doing these scenes, I could see the director really, really fucking it up to the point where I was like watching like a Looper or some other movie
Yeah.
where it would just Looper might not even be that. Looper might have been good.
Yeah, I
like
like
Looper.
I
What's-
love Marine Johnson, actually.
Like I'm imagining that some of these scenes I could have imagined like a Fast and Furious style film, and I would have just been like, action.
Okay, imagine we do a freaking Fast and the Furious movie. We're not going to be talking about the movie for an hour and a half before we even get to the review.
That's what you think, Ryan. That's what you think.
No, seriously though, I think that's something that's special about this series is that we care about it so much, and yet we don't even understand it.
More
Like
squids.
having a teenager.
More squids.
Give me more squids.
Hey, put that in your review. we gotta compartment. We gotta be professionals, guys. We're 50 episodes in. All right, we gotta start getting serious about this podcast thing. So,
I don't know shit about movies still. It's been 50 episodes.
We've seen at least 50 movies, and it's been documented that we've seen them.
Yeah, wow.
No, we haven't seen 50 movies. This is our 44th,
Movie episode.
is-
43rd.
This is
Holidays was
season
our
f-
40th movie episode.
okay. So 4 seasons
It's
is
10,
44
10
episodes.
movie episodes, and then
Yeah.
Yeah, but
State
the
of the
issue is
Podcast
it's season
episodes
5,
like
but
that.
doesn't mean we've already seen 50. We got to the
we've
5
seen-
by seeing
I've
40.
okay. I've probably seen at least 5 other movies then outside this podcast.
so
Oh,
you
yeah,
haven't
I-
haven't reviewed them
I haven't reviewed them
on here.
All right, let's jack in for our Keanometers.
So the issue with the Keanometer in this movie is that it's heavily derived from the original Keanometer, and I do not remember what I gave it. So maybe that's better. And Keanu in this movie seemed a little slow, like cognitively. And I think that's two things. One, just maybe not the best acting performance of his career. And also, that's kind of the thing they were going for, right? In the original movie, he's also a little out of it because he's the, questioner of it all. But in this movie, I think he's aged and he's a little bit more like confused. He's on medication. He's obviously going crazy. Yeah, he's a little bit old, cranky guy yelling at clouds. So I don't know. His performance didn't seem that great, right? I can't be the only one, but like he was Keanu for sure. I mean, obviously nobody else could play this role, and that's a huge. You can't really get below a 5 if you're indispensable. So I'm gonna go with a 6.
Oh,
because I just don't think his performance was that great. I think he was in every scene, right? So his quantity is up, but I think quality is down a little bit. And I definitely could not beat him up. Oh wait, that's Jace's meter.
yeah, but you can't fuck him up.
That's not in my Keanometer. It's not.
Can
It's
you-
not a
can you-
dog.
I don't think you can fuck
Was
up
that
any.
the part of the dog or the
You never
horror
said the
movie?
What?
I think
Wait,
it
there
was
was a
for
couple.
season 4, not 3.
There was a couple of dog. I think there was a couple dog episodes where Jace commented if he can fuck up the main dog character. He did relent on some of them. I think he
Oh,
said.
Clifford would murder me. So would
Clifford.
so would
Zowie?
the dog from the unnamed sled mushing.
Demon.
Yeah, demon.
Demon. And I think you said maybe was Airbud kind of up in the air. Maybe decision. Leave it up to the judges.
He beat me in basketball, but I think I'd take him with a rear naked choke.
Damn, I think I'd rather be the dog in that situation.
All right. Well, what was that? Sorry, what was your number, Jace or Brian, for your Keanometer?
I'm going with a 6.
Okay, a 6. That's better than I expected.
This movie, honestly, this has the Keanu vibes or like 47 Ronin vibes for me. Like supposed to be main character, doesn't feel like it too much. Movie is about him. I think his best acting was in the beginning, and when the scene really focused on him, like him and Trinity in the coffee shop, him with the analyst. He's got long hair. I'm sad to say this. I think I'm gonna give it a 4 on the Keanometer. Didn't love the farty push effects.
I don't think he farted when he did. Jace, I think you had an audio. It kind of made a whooshing on my end. I didn't think it.
Oh,
Did it fart on your end?
Yeah, it sounded like that might have been me. Well
There might have
timed.
been Yuri just using it as a cover.
This sound on this movie sucks. Everything's coming from the right side.
I don't think did he use a gun once?
No, that's kind of a
No.
cool character point, yeah.
He hasn't
Ooh.
used a gun since the first Matrix. He didn't use any in 2 and 3 either.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So it's I won't dock it
above
for
it.
that, but yeah, coming off the choreography of a John Wick series, 1, 2, and 3, thought they would have given him a little bit more. It's low. It's a 4 for me.
It's fine.
Maybe a
Yeah,
5,
Jace.
Ryan. You might be
No. Go with your it's okay, man.
disappointed. I'm not angry.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take off my Matrix sunglasses for this one, because I was frustrated watching this movie, guys. Because how could you have Keanu in every scene, yet somehow still underutilize him? Just like 47 Ronin, I feel like he didn't seem integral to the story, even though the plot revolved around him. He was, I think, the least interesting part of this movie with the final 2/3. In the first third, I'll give him points for the acting. I think him kind of living in that Matrix space was really interesting. But then after that, he was just kind of like a wet blanket, which sucked. Coming off of like what Jay said, John Wick. I know this dude can do better. I know this dude knows how to do fight choreography in his 50s. You don't necessarily have to bring back the guns, but just make it more interesting when he's in combat. If you're going to spend like 40 minutes with this dude in combat, at least make it fun to watch. Don't make him just kind of raise his hands and like force lightning the entire time. Oh, a helicopter, force lightning push. And it was just really fucking boring. I was like, God damn, like you're taking one of the greatest action actors of our generation and you're just making him this wet blanket. We in the movie, we did get a whoa out of him. So it's gonna tick it up just a little bit. We did get one whoa when he's shaking hands with the Morpheus character. Okay, I'll get a little bit there. But quality of acting in most of the movie, quantity was high, but quality again was fucking bad. All right, I'm gonna give this a 2. This is akin for me to 47 Ronin. None of what I like about Keanu was in this movie, unfortunately. I do think he was replaceable in this movie because he wasn't utilized in the way you're supposed to use Keanu. It's gonna be a 2. I'm sorry, Keanu. I'm sorry, Keanu. I'm a huge fan.
We didn't even get into. They really didn't even do Carrie Ann Moss any. Like,
fuck.
The story also focuses around her, and she had some pretty good scenes. But I would also give, like, if we were doing a Moss meter, it would be low too. And she was
Moss
like,
meter
she got
is a
really
2,
cool powers at the end, and she was, I was like,
Trinity is like, aside from Neo, Trinity is the fucking one of the coolest characters in the Matrix. Also underutilized in this movie. They say Trinity and talk about Trinity way more than she's actually in the movie. I feel like they could have done more, man. Moss meter low, Morpheus meter 0. Honestly, he was a statue. So,
Lawrence Fishburne, no.
Lawrence, you deserve better, Lawrence. Carrie Ann Moss and Lawrence. Who else was it? Niobe, also low. Niobe meter
Sucked. Okay, anyways.
Yeah, Ryan,
I'm not done with my Smith meter. Smith meter is also a 2.
Okay, can we go into the movie range?
Yes.
You have my permission. I will not interrupt you.
Cypher
second time.
also 0. Yeah.
I think that I'm gonna sound like a total dweeb because you guys are gonna go after me and be able to say things I didn't think of. But I once again, I like this movie. The number that's coming into my head is like a 7. Whoa! What? No, and I think that's fine. Like, that's coming from where the Matrix is like the original one being a perfect 10. Like, 7 is, relatively low, but I think ultimately kind of on the high end for what you would expect me giving like a blockbuster, right?
I'm fucking de-rezzed right now. I am so shook by the 7.
That's the wrong computer simulation series.
Is this modal wrong right now?
What's wrong with this? I thought you guys were gonna.
I serve the users.
He's a
I
bot.
think that ultimately, when we think about what the Matrix is that it's a chosen one story. And once again, we talked about this last week, but in this movie, they actually mentioned, right? Like, this is the classic hero's journey. It's a classic chosen one. It's the hero with 1,000 faces. It's different face, same story, right? That's normally what the chosen one is. And this movie, I think, tried to get away from the hero with 1,000 faces as much as possible, in that Neo didn't really have a mentor. He had Morpheus, right? But that wasn't the same Morpheus. And like, as much as the first movie did it in a certain formula, the formula for this movie was different. I liked that. It's a little bit fresh take. I couldn't predict what was going to happen, except for everything would be peachy at the end. Like, I knew that, but like, I couldn't really predict what was going to happen in the third act after the first act was done. And that's really nice for viewer engagement. And I liked the picking of the references from the first movie. We talked about this a little bit, but the choice that he had to take the blue pill every day because that's his antipsychotic medication. Like, that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And whereas in the first movie, it's a one-time choice. In this movie, he's making the choice every day. He's already been on the Matrix, and if he doesn't take the pill, then he's going to start thinking too much, and then he's going to start like seeing visions. I like that a lot. This movie obviously is some sort of retort against sequels that are written by committee and are written and sold to the lowest common denominator. And that's fine. Like, I like that this movie is divisive. I like that 2 of the 3 of us don't like this movie. It makes it way better to talk about. It makes me way more likely to rewatch it than just a random movie like I'm not going to throw names out there, but like random other sequels that come into theaters nowadays. So there's nothing wrong with this movie for me. Yes, it didn't hit on all it's not a 10 out of 10. It's not a home run, but it's a grounder. It's a, it's a single. That's fine with me. And that's all I have to say about that.
Ryan likes this movie more. This is Ryan's Sahara.
Yes, there we go. Like, that's a really good analogy. Like,
We found,
I understand why people don't like it, but that doesn't mean that I don't like it or can't like it.
yeah, this is your Wachowski movie. Everyone's got one.
Well, I like the original Matrix and I like Speed Racer.
Okay, he gets multiple Wachowski movies.
Ryan likes all Wachowski movies. Okay,
V for Vendetta is good.
you like Sense8?
I haven't seen
Ooh,
it. I don't think any others.
Sense8.
Jace likes Wachowski movies.
I don't know. the
Okay,
last
Jupiter
time I watched
Ascending.
Sense8. What?
I like looking at Jupiter Ascending.
The
Shit.
Invasion. Yeah,
What?
The Invasion. Do you guys like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers reboot they did?
Oh, that's right. I didn't watch it, but that's funny.
Yeah, I watched. I actually, it was kind of fun. Fuck.
Oh God, Jupiter Ascending was with Channing Tatum and Mina Kuchel. Okay.
Jace, what are you gonna give this here movie?
I don't love the movie. I don't hate the movie. I think it gets major points for like CGI team did great. I thought it was shot really well. The scenes themselves were very vibrant, which I appreciate. So I enjoyed viewing this film a lot. I thought there were some creative decisions in using the portals to transport between places and where the fights took place. But overall, again, action was kind of lacking. Didn't love the force pushing. The stakes are low. I think in an action movie, which this clearly is, we should be getting some stakes. We should feel like character lives, could be lost. And I don't think seeing Neo fighting in the Matrix and a character on the outside looking at a panel of his chest and seeing 3 red dots, from where he's getting punched, really makes me think that he's in danger, because I know that he's the one. Again, first Matrix, we saw like 4 people die. Pretty gruesome deaths.
Total party kill in the trilogy.
Yeah. So, I think I might cut it right down the middle. This is for like a better score, a rewatch. I think giving it a 5 right now is kind of gracious. I think I could go lower, but I think
that's Denali.
I think some of the things hit.
Spoilers.
And I'm only really, really disappointed because I had an idea of what the movie might be like because I liked the first Matrix so much, and we just watched it. So, a gracious 5.
Very gracious indeed. Let me preface my review by saying that I respect that some people will like this movie, because like we said, Wachowskis, they fucking swing. So sometimes that swing can connect more with some people than others. I got plenty of movies that I can't say are good, but I fucking love them. So my review is going to be solely my opinion as usual, but I just know that, there's going to be defenders of this movie. That's the only reason why I give a disclaimer on this particular review. Because I think I was just really frustrated with this movie, especially coming after the Matrix marathon that me and Amber just did throughout this week. Because I've seen how high the Matrix can go and how low it can go. This one, I think, exists on a category of its own. I think it was using a little bit of that meta stuff as kind of a shield a little bit. It was kind of like, oh, fuck, we know this is just kind of like a little bit of a cash grab, so we're going to throw this meta stuff out there. I think if they cut out maybe a third of the meta stuff, it would have been more, like, I guess, tasteful in the movie. I think they kind of milked the cow a little bit too long with that thing. Again, to go back to the fight scenes, it was sorely missed, the fight choreography. I mean, they even had, I heard they had like one of the directors of John Wick serve as an extra. I think he was the Chad character. And it was almost like a tease, man. It was like, we've seen Keanu use these really awesome action sequences. And if you're going to dedicate a huge portion of the movie to all these action sequences, but don't do them right, that's going to be a huge dock for me. I thought anytime there was an action sequence, any fight scene in this movie, it was devastatingly boring. When I saw like the dojo scene with Morpheus and Neo, I'm like, oh, here we go. We got modern technology. We got these dudes going in. And it was super lame. Tons of cuts. It was like I was watching, I don't know, fucking Captain America or something. Not to throw heat on them, but it's just not the same. This movie was a mile wide and an inch deep. I keep using that analogy because I think they spent too much time explaining all these different things without delving into any of the shit that I actually cared about. I just know they could have done something good here. They were so fucking close. There was so many good ideas. There was even individual scenes within the movie that I think were kind of good, but I kept flip-flopping between being like, oh, this scene's good, this scene's dog shit, this scene's kind of good, this scene fucking sucks. And maybe that's why we can color this movie differently with our opinions, because maybe certain things worked, but for me, it just totally didn't, man. Given that I spent the past day kind of thinking about how I actually feel about this movie, where I would rank it, and kind of like the pantheon of the Matrix sequels and the entire brand. I think I would put this below Revolutions for me. I think it goes out saying Revolutions is near the bottom. I think for me it would be this movie, Revolutions, Animatrix Reloaded, and the original. I think it took some risks, which I can throw some respect towards. But when the risks just don't pan out, when it's done in a way that it kind of has me like cringing in my seat, I'm shifting around, I'm like, oh, make it stop. I can't give it credit for that. It's gonna be a 2 for me in this movie. It was a painful watch, and it was more painful because I was seeing people I like on the screen. I was seeing Keanu and Carrie Ann Moss, who have such a special place in my heart growing up watching them. And seeing their characters treated like this just hurt to watch. It hurt, man. It hurts me to give that 2. All right, but I think people should still see this movie. With that said, it's worth watching. Even if you think you're not gonna like it, I think you can get something from it as a Matrix fan. It's a light, respectful 2.
Dang, son.
If you're listening to this, don't watch the other movies besides the first Matrix beforehand, because you'll become too invested in the world.
The more Matrix movies you watch, the less you'll like this movie.
Whoa, wait.
Don't watch any of them. Don't watch any Matrix movies. Just go in this one first.
Honestly, that might be the best strat.
You know what? That'd be interesting, huh? Because like the people who have only heard about the Matrix, exterior to the movie,
they might think that the original Matrix is this complicated.
Maybe I don't know. Do your folks, if you haven't seen any Matrix movie and you listen to our whole podcast just now, first of all, thank you for your stalwart patience. It was very cool of you to listen to this episode and stick with us through this conversation. Let us know what you think. We made it through our Matrix Resurrections conversation. I think it's a conversation that's going to be going on for the next couple decades, honestly, with a movie like this.
Yeah, I think Matrix 5. Matrix
5, which hasn't been confirmed. I didn't mention this earlier, but kind of the production of this movie, it was stalled for a while. I think it was Lana Wachowski even said that she didn't want to continue it. She was like going to scrap the whole project and was actually convinced by the cast to finish it. And I didn't mention this in review. It's like, I think that kind of showed a little bit in the movie for me.
Well, right. And I mean, Lily Wachowski didn't participate. And they're different people now. It's been 20 years. Like, it's okay to have a different perspective on movie making. And I still am interested in seeing what they have to put out. Like, I totally am.
Fuck yeah, I'm gonna see the next Matrix movie when it comes out.
I'm gonna see the next Wachowski project, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna see that shit. So I'm gonna, to me, it's kind of like Star Wars, where it's just kind of like, I want to see what they do with it. I don't,
I think it's gonna be Star Wars.
But yeah, I mean, let us know what you guys think about this. Hit us up on Twitter or on Instagram to let us know. But we made it, guys. We made it through the Matrix. We talked off camera about not doing all of the Matrix movies. I'm really glad we didn't. Otherwise, this is going to become the Matrix podcast.
Yep.
I think we'd lose our minds, frankly.
And also, we would just talk about the Matrix for 5 episodes and not have any jokes. I don't think there were any jokes in the last episode either.
We did.
I think we did. I think we had some goofs last episode.
I think we're overdue for some
goofs.
Knee slappers.
Speaking of knee slappers, I was going through Keanu's catalog. He's got some goofy ass movies.
Oh yes, let's do this, dude.
Kind of like what you mentioned, Ryan. I might start cutting a lot of our movie decision conversation. And just kind of say, we've decided on doing this, but mostly I think we can cut maybe most of it out, because sometimes it's like 10 minutes of us kind of being like, oh, there's a movie about slugs. If you guys are cool.
That would be sick, dude. What is it, a movie about slugs?
He's a slug.
He's a slug, but he's also a cop.
How am I gonna, honey, how are you gonna catch criminals if you're a slug?
I'm gonna coincidentally be there at the same time they are.
I see in the future. You know this about me. I'm a slug who sees in the future.
I see 20 hours into the future, and I have to go there right now.
But isn't that precognitive?
Imagine Minority Report, but it's slugs.
He's a slug. What if the producer's like, hey, can we do this movie where he's just maybe not a slug and keep the future crime? No! Are you out of your fucking mind? No, just have him as a human. He shows up.
I mean, Tom Cruise sells. The face sells. Why are we gonna waste that by replacing him with a CGI slug? Like,
the slug is what holds this whole concept
we're paying
together.
$25 million to get Tom Cruise, and he's just playing a CGI slug.
Sorry, Tom Cruise is going to voice the slug actor we hired.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent adventure.
We're finally losing it. We're finally into like riff territory here.
Do we want to cut in to the?
Yeah, we'll cut into this.
Okay,
we just said it.
We just said it. So we convened. This took longer off camera than we're willing to admit.
Yeah.
Okay, we're watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. All right.
The first one. Yeah, the first one.
The first one.
Okay, so unfortunately, we're just now warmed up for joking, and we're at the end of the episode.
We're at the end of the episode. We did a lot of cut joke content. So subscribe to our Patreon to get our too hot for TV joking.
Yeah. Hottest mics.
The hottest mics.
Hottest mics in town.
And we also include serious conversations about our jokey episodes as well. So our Thanksgiving episode, we actually do a real review, and Argo as well. There is a real Argo review out there somewhere. We just kept the app pitch episode.
Great episode. If you're still here, go listen to that one.
As a listen to Argo.
If you get so scared in the Matrix that you poop yourself.
Yeah. Do you shit in your life?
Soiled.
Yeah, in canon, you definitely do. I mean,
your body makes it real.
Yeah, for sure.
But what if you poop before you go into the Matrix?
Oh, okay. So you're empty.
And you
empty mag.
No shells in the gun.
Yeah.
And you probably any sort of gun. And then you go into the Matrix and you poop.
Well, you probably can't poop because you pooped in your life in the not Matrix.
You go into a pooping simulation.
Okay, so you're in the pooping simulation where you for sure can, and you come out of it.
Would you even not be able to? Yeah.
You know, I feel like the excitement of being in a combat situation. Maybe you would shit yourself. Actually, maybe you would.
I think that happens, right?
I think
you see how many times they get blasted into the wall with their back? It's like a.
Yeah, they would. And Jace, I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I'll try to say it more cleanly. You know, if you have intercourse in the Matrix,
what happens?
And then you arrive in the real world with the plug taken out.
What?
Is there when you're unplugged? I didn't want to say come back. All right, I knew you guys were gonna get me. I was trying to get ahead of it. And when you're unplugged, when you're unjacked from the Matrix, is there a refractory period? Okay, I don't want to get all blue.
This is not, but I don't know. There's not a non-serious answer to this question. Of course there is.
There is a refractory. If they,
I think it's really clear.
I'm not even just memeing here because Mouse says to Neo, he's like, hey, there is this like character I can hook you up with for a sexual relation. Is that something that Neo has to ask? Because he was like, hey, Neo, do you want to have relations with this program I made? I think the next question for Neo is like, hey, if I,
what's the embarrassment factor here?
What's the embarrassment? Like when I wake up, is there going to be a problem? I think that's the best way to address.
Yeah, and it's huge.
Yeah,
it's like way more than normal.
Oh God.
I've got a special chair in my room. That room, one of the scene where Neo is taken to the prison, they actually have they have a chair and they have a desk and they have one of the coils that I think you can like connect into.
Yeah. Really? They have like a desktop except you're in the Matrix?
I think they did. Which, that's really not the worst prison if you can just connect to the,
Fuck no. It's got an Oculus. Like, what kind of prison is that?
As we now know, he can just...
Yeah, I mean, people have made jokes about Matrix porn, which is probably enhanced, but also like movies, other experience. It doesn't have to always be like, doing kung fu and beating up, your boss fantasies.
The Matrix is kind of a serious movie. I think this topic is fully explored in the docudrama Demolition Man.
Okay.
Have you guys seen Demolition Man?
Only the 3 seashells scenes.
I wholeheartedly, unironically recommend the movie Demolition Man,
Okay.
starring Sylvester Stallone and Sandra Bullock
And Blade.
and Blade.
We gotta go.
Whenever we watch
Wesley
Blade,
Snipes
me and Julie have a
movie
competition to
season.
say who can say Blade the most times in like the best circumstances.
We gotta do a Wesley Snipes season at some point.
Oh, damn, yeah.
That guy fucking rules.
So
Okay,
join us next week
Yeah.
for
So,
Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure, which
Excellent
is number
Adventure.
1. And be careful, Jason and other listeners, because number 2 isn't named Bill and Ted 2. It's named Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey,
which I think is superior to the first.
Literally never
totally.
heard of that movie. And I'm
Okay.
not kidding.
They,
So we're
should we
watching
watch that one?
Excellent Adventure.
Excellent Adventure. I think we should just establish the canon with Excellent Adventure. Bogus Journey, just to touch on it briefly, is when they die and go to hell and have to fight the Grim Reaper at like
Yes,
Twister and a
it's
bunch of board
amazing.
games. It was awesome.
Sounds metal as fuck.
Yes, that literally,
It's fucking great. Yeah. But this one, they time travel and they, well, no spoilers. Bill and Ted's, Ryan and I have seen this classic. Jace,
1,000 times.
I'm glad you haven't seen it. I'd love to hear a fresh take on a classic. We hope you guys will join us. Thanks for hanging with us for the Matrix Resurrections episode. We hope we helped you digest this movie, because I know after I watched it, I was like, oh, fuck, I need to look up a discussion. I need to hear what people think.
I totally agree.
Please. Yeah. I hope we could be that for you. And I hope our discussion wasn't as frustrating as the movie was. But
Speak for yourself, eh?
Jace, where can they find us on the interwebs?
Well, you can find some of our beautiful faces and funny voice clips from each episode at Instagram at Good Boys Gone Bland. There are some tweets that have been twoten. You can find us on Twitter at GBGB Podcast. And as always, I love reading your fan mail, erotic fan fiction, and comments about Ryan's soft feminine hands. You can keep sending them
Nothing wrong
to
with
the
that.
GBGB Podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, send us some emails. We love your emails. We'll read your email live on air if you want. You can just say in your email, read this live, and we will to the best of our ability. We'll read your reviews too if you leave them, if they're good. If they're good reviews, I'll read all 5-star and 1-star reviews.
Please don't leave a 1-star review.
Don't leave 1-star. Come on, guys. Hey,
We
don't
would
leave a
read it,
1-star.
but then we would, if we know you,
Sad.
you're gonna.
We would. It wouldn't even we would just cry on air. I think.
We probably
I think
know
it'd be
your
a
address
sad
too.
episode. Yeah, and we'd be like, "Screw you, asshole!" And we
Whoa,
would,
those are some
we'd be-
words. Those are some bleepable words.
Mhm.
I'd send you
Yeah, that's
confetti
the vibe.
in a bag, and it would
It's-
open it up.
Are you
And
thinking of
Isn't
glitter?
it glitter? I think confetti's easy to
No.
clean.
Confetti is actually
no.
kind of fun.
It's
yeah, but I'm
They
gonna fill it with Carolina Reaper powder too.
that
Whoa, then they
bioterrorism?
probably should not eat it like we normally do with.
Yeah, I think that would be
Confetti.
illegal to send because it would be a trap.
Probably be a
Ryan,
probably
is
bioweapon.
that...
We have
I'll
a
say-
different conception of what confetti is.
Thanks for not leaving the 1-star review, because now you know what would happen.
Yeah, now you know that was
Love
a little
you.
sample. That was us at a 4. You don't want to see us go
You don't-
10.
You don't want to
All right.
know.
You don't want people to see.
I don't even know.
I'm fried from this movie, guys. Like
Yeah,
I used
I
a
need
lot
to
of
sleep.
neuron energy to watch it, and a lot of just to talk about it like that. Like I'm Neo just jerking around in the chair right now, talking about this movie. So, as always,
This is the GBGBs.
no, we can't say.